Hello, everybody, and welcome to the top 5 new comics for January 22nd of 2025. I'm, as always, Chris, and it's another cool week of comics, everybody. We've got a good slate, good little mix of Marvel, DC, and indie in there. I'm really excited about this week's books, so let's jump right into it. Starting with Ultimate Spider-Man number 13. This is written by Jonathan Hickman with art by Marco Checchetto, colors by Matt Wilson, and edited by Will Moss. So, Ultimate Spider-Man since issue 1's been on my top 5 pretty much every week. We can go back and check, but I think every week. And it's just been this awesome ride. It's been a book of very little Spider-Man, to be honest. Hickman and crew have been building up to creating this version of Spider-Man. From issue 1, where we meet this, late 30s Peter Parker, who's never had his spider powers, has a family with MJ, is a reporter, all these things. The life he's living, how, Aunt May's the one that dies instead of Uncle Ben. All these cool things. And then he's met by this version of Tony Stark who gives him the spider powers and gives him the suit and decides to take it and take this adventure and see where it leads him. And then we've seen where he meets Harry, who is the Green Goblin in this, but the Green Goblin isn't necessarily a bad guy, at least not yet. We'll see. We get to meet all the different characters along the way, like Dr. Octavius and just J. Jonah Jameson, his relationship with Peter, all these things going into it. And then with the last issue, we had the Christmas issue, which is really weird with this book that I am very much enjoying the mundanity of some of the story, where the last issue being a Christmas story, it was literally the Peter Parker Christmas party at their house and all the different characters involved, and how we learned a little bit more about MJ's family and some of the dynamics there and everything. And it left these breadcrumbs for what is now basically a new story arc. You could say the last issue set up this one, so that's probably the beginning of the new story arc. But I would say this is the real one, where we learn that the Peter that's at that party wasn't Peter Parker. We don't know exactly who it was, but we get the idea it was some sort of Venom symbiote. And then we learn that Peter and Harry have been abducted by Kraven the Hunter, none other. So I love that we're doing a Kraven story here. We've been setting up the Sinister Six little by little, giving each of them their moment throughout the first 12 issues, and now it's time for Kravens. And my hope here is that we get the beginnings of the superheroics of Ultimate Spider-Man in full. We've gotten dribs and drabs. We've learned a lot about Peter and Spider-Man in this world. Let's get into what it means to be a late 30s Spider-Man officially. Let's get into the superheroics of it, what kind of things you have to deal with. And also you get, while I'm not a huge Spider-Man fan, there's always, with any character, key stories that we've all read or should read about that character. And one of the things that they're really pushing with this is Hickman has said that this is kind of his love letter to Kraven's Last Hunt, which is the Spider-Man story. That's the one that everybody knows. We just had the Spider-Man 2 video game, basically did Kraven's Last Hunt. So I'm really just interested to see how he does this, how he takes this, where it's going, and what the story has for us in terms of Peter as a superhero. And I'm really interested to see Harry's blossoming. Does he stay a superhero? Does he stay a good guy? At what point does he turn? We don't have the traditional break that those two would have. At least there's no sign of that yet. We will see. So I just have a lot of questions, but that's a good thing going into a new story arc like this. And I'm just super excited to see where it goes. And then to have Marco Checchetto back on it. He's been on for a few issues, but it's important to acknowledge how great his art is in this book. I said when he was doing Daredevil with Chip Zdarsky, he was like my favorite Daredevil artist for a long time. And I think for the book that Hickman is writing here, he's the perfect artist for it as well. So let's jump to the next one. So after that, we've got Dr. Doom and Rocket Raccoon #1. This is written by J. Michael Straczynski with art by Will Robson. So, quick caveat, I've never been a huge Straczynski fan personally. I've read a lot of his stuff over the years. I just finished up his Captain America run. And his storytelling is never my favorite. There's no slight against him. We all just have things we like and don't like about the books we read. And his have just never stuck with me. That being said, he's doing this 5-issue one-shots where it's unlikely pairings in the Marvel Universe. And I just love the idea. Like, at its core, we get to see two characters who don't normally connect. And to be honest, some of these you're really stretching the not likely to connect thing here. But for this one in particular, they're not likely to connect and work together. And let's see what they do together. And I find that very interesting to have Dr. Doom and Rocket Raccoon coming together for this weird story where they just got to find a commonality together. And then to have an artist like Will Robson. Will is a guy that I've really liked. He did a great run on Great Lakes Avengers for Marvel. And currently he's just been a big name in the Kickstarter indie scene. A guy I've gotten to chat with a bunch over the years that I really love his work. And I love his thought process going into making comics. So that brings it up a notch as well. But mostly just, it's something new, different, kind of cool. Let's see what happens here. I mean, it's akin to a Marvel team up, just not with that name on it. But I'll be interested to see what the larger story is here. Or if there even is one. Or if this is just an excuse to get two characters together and tell a fun story in one issue. We'll see. But I'm just really excited at the implications of what these books can be. And this one in particular, it's just a cool pairing. So after that, we've got Absolute Wonder Woman #4. This is written by Kelly Thompson with art by Hayden Sherman and colors by Jordie Bellaire. I said it on my podcast, that's the Fortune Comic News podcast, quick plug, that after the last issues of Ultimate Batman, Ultimate Superman, Ultimate Wonder Woman became the top book in the Ultimate Verse for me. I really like the way they're dealing with everything in this and telling this 5-issue story of Wonder Woman coming to Earth from hell and her having to deal with these terrible kaiju-like creatures that come from the underworld and what it means. And then we're seeing the differences, like how her origin, not only is her origin very different from the one we know, but how things like, spoilers for the last issue, but she lost an arm while in hell trying to save Steve Trevor and bring him back to Earth. How she has the ability to use magic on a more real basis than the actual Wonder Woman does. And then just the cool things like the lasso of truth and the Buster sword she's using. It's a more badass story. She's tough, she's firm, and she don't take no shit. And I love that about how the story is being told. And I've said while reviewing the issues, like, just moments in this book that even as a man, I can relate to very much in how she treats moments and how she talks to people and how sometimes you just got to assert yourself as like a no, this is the way it's going kind of thing. And you can be, it's a little, it's a tough thing, but there's moments in your life where you have to kind of stand up for what you believe and say, no, I'm right, you're wrong. We're doing this. And I love those moments in this book, and I can relate to them so well in different ways in my personal life. And it's just interesting to see how this book was the one I stuck to the most out of all 3 of them. That's not to discourage the other 2. I just thought the last 2 issues, delving so much into their backstory, hurt those books for me personally. While this one, dribbing and drabbing the backstory, it really giving us moments of it throughout that tie into the main story, has in the long run been a better choice. Oh, yeah, absolute Wonder Woman, great. After that, I've got Justice League Unlimited number 3. This is written by Mark Waid with art by Dan Mora and colors by Tamara Bonneville. I just really love the Justice League Unlimited book. To start where any book drawn by Dan Mora should start, I love Dan Mora's style, and I love that it's starting to influence DC as a whole. It's just such a great super heroic style, especially a DC super heroic style of art that just makes me so happy in so many ways. It's amazing. Any book he's on, I'm drawn to it just based on the visual style of what he's doing. And as far as the Justice League book as a whole, I love these little things we're doing. Each issue is giving different characters their moment and showing different versions of what this world-spanning Justice League is. And while last issue it was like a Martian Manhunter story, in the first issue we kind of jumped back and forth between different members trying to introduce the idea of what we're doing here. And now with this we have Superman, Wonder Woman, and Swamp Thing, along with Plastic Man and Beast Boy, coming together to deal with this issue. And the big issue they're dealing with, outside of just like the usual somebody's attacking the Earth or something's happening, but we're dealing with the aftermath of absolute power, where superpower's been scrambled, and some people have gotten new ones. Some people don't have any of them. Some people are just missing one of their powers or two of their powers. In the case of Martian Manhunter, and they're trying to figure this all out while creating this whole new Justice League with almost every hero you can think of. And there's been talks of this Atom Project. And I had thought at one point that I would want to read the Atom Project book based on what's going on here. But I'm finding that they're really diving into that in the main Justice League book as well. And that's what this issue is going to deal with. So basically, Plastic Man and Beast Boy don't have their powers in this, or have some weird form of their powers or whatever. And we're going to see the Atom Project try to fix that, as they did in last issue with Atom Smasher's powers. So there's a lot of cool things going on here, and I'm just very interested in everything they're doing with Justice League. And the fact that I love that this is kind of the keystone book at DC, and everything underneath it, that I'm reading at least, is dealing with the same type of issues that Justice League Unlimited is. It's been a great book. And if you're reading any DC stuff, I think this is a must-read at DC right now. And then we will go ahead and end with Hyde Street number 3. This is written by Jeff Johns, art by Ivan Reis, inks by Danny Mika, and colors by Brad Anderson. Hyde Street's been a great... Take out the one shot that I wasn't so thrilled about. The main series, the first 2 issues, have been just so much fun. We got introduction to Mr. X-Ray. We got introduction to the Boy Scout kid and what his whole deal was. Pranky, I believe his name was. And now the 2 are coming together for this issue, and we're going to really dive into what Hyde Street's going to be in the long run. With this book, I just have really enjoyed the storytelling they're doing here. They're doing a lot of really cool things. It's got a Twilight Zone feel to it, while being very horror-centric, but not the over-the-top gruesome horror, and more of the old-school horror that I used to really love, which it involved more of, yes, there is gore and there's death, but it's more of putting people in terrible situations, and how they deal with it, or don't in a lot of cases. It's been just a really good book altogether, and having Ivan Reis on it, who was one of my favorite artists at DC for a long time, has really made this book better in so many ways, because having a top-tier artist like this on a book like this adds even more to what the book is. And it kind of goes to what I was talking to somebody at the comic book shop about with current day big 2 artists, where while there's ones I really love, we just talked about Dan Mora, as a whole, we don't seem to have the big name, the must read artists at DC or Marvel for the most part. And I feel like that's because a lot of them are now working for Ghost Machine, and Ivan Reis is like a big part of that. So it's a really cool horror book for people that may not be that into horror, but for my friends that love horror, they're also enjoying this type of book too. So it's just a great book. So everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to support it, remember you can like and comment down below. Comments, whatever you like, but if there's a book that you're looking forward to or one that I missed, put it down there and let's talk about it. And then subscribe to the channel and make sure you keep getting the videos every week, as well as our interviews and the podcast as well that we do a video version of. And if you want to support me further, best ways to do it are chriscomicscorner.substack.com, where I do a weekly crowdfunding spotlight as well as a weekly retro reread. Right now we're reading Batman Hush, and it's been really great to jump back into that story, especially leading up to Hush 2 at DC. And then there's also my podcast, Fortress Comic News, that you can listen to every week, where we always have a new comic creator on the show. We talk about the news and sometimes just bullshit about things like how much we love the movie Shrek. All those types of things can be found on that show, and it's a blast. I really enjoy it, so I hope y'all check that out as well. So that's all we have for this week. I'll see y'all here next week.